Now, one thing that Lady Red and I both love that you started doing a couple of years ago was your politically charged drag numbers where you played different people from politics, honey.
Yes.
That really, when, you know, you've been a great performer, but when you really sort of honed in on that, it really was something special. Tell me a little bit about that process.
You know, I think that was really the moment where I started blending my interest in politics with my interest in drag. And for me, drag and politics are so intertwined that I really can't separate them at this point. You know, I told you earlier that I've always had an interest in politics, and I've always been a firm believer that the act of going out in drag or performing in drag or presenting yourself as gender nonconforming in and of itself is a social and political act, and it's so important. Whether or not you're actually intentionally being like, I'm making a political statement, you are making a political statement by putting yourself out there like that. And, you know, I started doing drag in 2015, and, you know, it was a blissful year leading up to 2016.
Yes.
And, you know, I don't think anybody was expecting, you know, DJT to be elected.
No, we were not.
Not at all. And so when he was elected, you know, we were all just sort of flabbergasted. And so I started doing political drag, which in my mind, that means like I was doing interpretations of characters in the political world. And what I would do is I would impersonate a character, but I would make it relevant to what they were putting out into the world. And so I did Melania Trump, I did Kellyanne Conway, Betsy DeVos, and you know, when I started doing these characters, I had a lot of fun with it because I love playing a villain.
Yeah.
I've done theater since I was in high school, and I always loved just playing the villain. For some reason, I just feel like, I don't know, there's something fun about it. And when I started playing these villains from the real world, from the political world that we live in, I started getting feedback from people being like, oh, I loved your performance, but who was that? And I started having people asking me who people like Melania Trump and Kellyanne Conway were. And I was so kind of taken aback that these are the people that are running the world that we live in, and you don't know who they are. And so I felt that it was important to keep doing these kinds of numbers to expose the people that are in office, to expose the people that are running the political show right now. And I would often do it through satire. So, you know, my numbers were funny, but you know, it's funny, haha, but it's really not funny when you think about it.
Exactly.
It's, you know? So I did political drag for a while just to kind of expose what was happening in the political world, just for the people that aren't paying attention.
Well, they're some of my favorites, and it leads us into a little game we're gonna play with you called Hot Look, Hot Take. In this game, we're gonna show you some of your looks as political figures, and you're gonna give us your hot, well-informed take on these mostly evil people. All right.
So is this like a toot or boot on myself?
Well, no, yeah, they're all toots because the looks are stunning, but just want to get your take on them and what they are doing in the world to help get the word out to people. Now,
right,
first one is not a villain at all. Let's take a look. Nancy Pelosi. That's your Nancy Pelosi number.
Nancy, in my opinion, is one of those political figures where a lot of people think, oh, she's great. She's a Democrat. She loves the queer community. But when it comes down to it, she's very much a middle-of-the-road, moderate, conservative Democrat. And you know what? That's not very far off from middle-of-the-road, moderate, conservative Republicans. And so I think that when it comes down to it, a lot of social issues differentiate Nancy from Republicans, but also at the same time, she has the same corporate agenda as all of the Republicans. So that was not an endorsement of Nancy.
Well, we know you're not endorsing everyone you're performing as, because let's look at the next one. We have you in the Kellyanne Conway inaugural look. Well, tell me about that number.
You know, I'm very proud of the construction of that costume. I made that costume all by hand. But that was actually my very first political cosplay, if you will. And, you know, the election had happened in 2016. You know, there's a couple of months where we're all just like dreading Trump being inaugurated. And then the inauguration happens, and of course they put on this show. And, you know, it was almost like, how dare you come out and put on this presentation and not expect the drag queens to come out with a response.
Yeah.
So when I saw Kellyanne's outfit, I was like, okay, that's a look. And you know what? I'm going to take that look, I'm going to make it into my own look, and I'm going to make a number out of it.
Yes, she's horrible. Okay, oh, here's a hero we've just lost. Let's look at this. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, honey,
Come
that
on,
look is
RBG.
accurate. That is accurate.
Yes.
We just lost this hero, and now we're fucked.
I know. R.I.P. RBG. Obviously, such a huge loss, and you know we're in this moment right now where we're wondering who's going to be the next Supreme Court justice. But that was a fun look to do. I did that about a year ago.
What number did you do as our RBG?
You know, I made a mix, and I put in the Notorious B.I.G.
Yes.
So I did kind of like a mix between that and Ruth. It was definitely silly and nonsensical, but there was definitely a point behind it as well.
Mm-hmm. All right, now, it's the trio of full evil coming up next, starting with this nightmare who is ruining America. Let's take a look. Oh, you as the turtle who is just awful, a terrible person, terrible for America. I'm glad you made him look so rotted.
I know. Mitch McConnell, one of my least favorite people in the world. You know, I had been wanting to do Mitch McConnell drag for a while. And I was like, you know what? I think I could do it. And a lot of people were like, oh my God, I loved your prosthetics. I was like, girl, I wasn't wearing any prosthetics. I was just like contorting my face in like the like most awful way to like make his face.
We could all look like Mitch McConnell.
God, I think I just messed up my contour.
Oh no! Now, when you do these numbers, do you have sound bites of the person in the mix?
I do. I put in sound bites of the person. I put in usually like news clips and like a storyline. So I always try to put a story in there. You know, when I do the character, I'm like, here's their situation, this is what they're like, this is why they're awful, and here's a song to dance along to it.
You know what? The sugar makes the medicine go down,
Exactly.
honey. I mean, Erica's living for you in your politics right now. She's been looking for someone to talk to about this.
We're very much of a like mind.
Yes, I think all of us on this stage
Especially
are
that
of like
man.
mind, but
Yeah.
Erica loves to hear it.
I love to hear it. I love to hear it.
Okay, this is another one of just someone who's truly a devil. Let's take a look. Betsy DeVos, your Betsy DeVos look.
Yes, Betsy DeVos, you know, I remember when I did that number, all I remember is Jackson 5, A, B, C, easy as 1, 2, 3. It's just like, it gags me that Trump, for the very few cabinet positions that he's filled, he has somehow taken the worst qualified, most awful person for that particular position and put them there, including Miss Betsy DeVos.
Again and again. So someone who's never been a teacher, who knows nothing about public education and
Department of Education.
Right, exactly. Someone who hates the planet. Oh, EPA. Someone who, I mean, it's just horrible. Future audience, I can only hope that you're living in a Trumpless world. And if you're not, sorry, girl, we're there too. All right, last but not least, some say she's a prisoner, but I say she's a full conspirator. Let's take a look. Melania, you did this for us.
That was here at Hey Qween.
The beginning of, I think it was Hey Qween season 6.
Yes.
It was right after Trump got elected, and it was me and Lady Red being tied up by Trump and Melania.
Yes.
And we knew just who to call to get that Melania.
You know, it was so fun when it was a fantasy, but when I thought about, wow, this is real world, it's not fun
Scary.
whatsoever.
Not at
yeah,
all.
Melania Trump, like, I'm just gagged because she's one of those, there's always like a I feel like people always want to put the first ladies in a certain position, and it's like, oh, she's the first lady, you have to respect her. But you know what, the last several first ladies have actually done something to participate in our nation and our government and our society. And one of the things that I think is pathetic about Melania, she's done nothing. She has very much hidden in the background. She doesn't want to be involved. She doesn't want to do anything, you know, except what, decorate the rose garden and, you know, put up Christmas trees.
And she doesn't even want to do that.
And you know she doesn't even want to do that.
As we know, I'm waiting for your Christmas number as Melania talking about who cares about Christmas and these fucking trees.
It's on my mind. I'm thinking about it.
Most of those people were terrible. Hopefully you voted them out. All right, maybe put your hands in the air, sweetie, because it's time for us to go back in the time machine. Whoa! Whoa! Oh, look at us. Here we are. We're in Pittsburgh. And there's a tiny little Maebe. She's running. Not for office yet. She's running. Maebe, now you were born in Pittsburgh and then you grew up in Chicago. What were you like as a kid?
You know, as a kid, I was a weird kid. I was kind of funny and kind of class clowny, but also kind of kept to myself. Generally, I'm a little more reserved in my out of drag world. And I kind of keep to myself, but I'm also goofy and like weird and funny. So when I was a kid, like, you know, I was actually just talking about this to somebody, how like my parents wanted to put me in sports and, you know, they wanted me to play baseball and football. And I had this like flashback the other day of 7-year-old Maebe out in the outfield, and she just wasn't having it. She was not having it. So picture me sitting in the outfield, literally playing with the grass as like the ball's flying over me.
Maybe I think there is an entire generation of queer youth who were in the outfield, not paying attention to the game, imagining princess bugs, playing in the grass or other fantasies. Right over there, we got them.
Yep.
The outfield is where a lot of us learned we didn't like sports. Now, what were your parents like? Were they supportive of you as a weird young person?
You know, they were. They always knew I was like a funny kid. I was always like making people laugh, and I feel like in my own little world, I was like a little like performer. I was always trying to like, you know, jump into a conversation and make the adults laugh. You know, I was always trying to do something to make a scene. And it really, in retrospect, showed me how much I just love performing and love interacting with people and making a scene.
Yeah.
And my parents were, they loved it, but at the same time, they wanted me to go a more traditional path. That's why they put me in like baseball, football. You know, they wanted me to follow an academic path. And you know, I'm very much a people pleaser in many ways, especially when it comes to my family and friends. And when I was growing up, I did a lot to try to please my parents and my family members. And so when, you know, I have this distinct memory of when I was probably like 5, 6, maybe 7, and my dad asked me what I wanted to be when I grew up, and I said a comedian. And he shot me down. And, you know, I just sort of accepted it as at face value in the way that a child accepts what their parent says. Oh, you can't do that. Oh, okay. And I kind of just, you know, put it on the back burner. And, you know, I remember trying to please my parents and follow this academic path for a long time. And I was good at academics. In high school, I graduated 11 out of 605 people.
That's good.
You know, and went to a great college and ended up dropping out because I didn't really know what I wanted to pursue. I have an interest in a lot of different things. I'm good academically at a lot of different things, but when I thought about it, I was like, what do I want to pursue that I want to spend the rest of my life doing? And at the time, there was really nothing. And I struggled with that for a long time because I wanted to please my parents. I wanted to fit in with societal ideals. And many years ago, I had just gotten back into school, and I remember visiting my mom for Thanksgiving, and we finally had this conversation. I was like, Mom, I'm really struggling. You know, I don't know if I want to major in art or history or art history or this, that, or the other. And my mom said to me, she said, do you think that maybe school's getting in the way of what you actually want to do? And that was kind of an aha moment for me. That was right when I was starting to get into drag and performance arts. And I really loved that she said that, because it kind of gave me permission to pursue things other than just getting a degree.
Hello, children. Click here. Click here. And subscribe. You're welcome.